Philadelphia natives Meek Mill and Cassidy have a history going back quite a while. According to Cassidy, they worked together on music before Meek was big, and there's even video footage online of them freestyling together before the beef. Things heated up between the two back in 2012, allegedly due to a misunderstanding that went on regarding Meek Mill stating that he wants to rap battle either Cassidy or Murda Mook. He clarified later on that he meant he wanted to see Cassidy battle Murda Mook, not him battle one of them himself. Personally, I don't see how that misunderstanding even happened, but hey. Cassidy agreed to battle Meek for the right price, but according to Cassidy, Meek backed out of it, and then things went off on Twitter. Cassidy then released the track Me, Myself, and iPhone in December that year, which featured some lines aimed at Meek Mill. Those lines being, he said he wanna battle niggas, but when I took him up on his offer, he started to reconsider. That cat lame, on every song he rapped the same. That cat changed, he got a deal and don't act the same. That nigga wildin' cause he sold a couple 100,000, but I sold triple what that nigga sold my first album. He not selling cause that nigga can't stop yelling. That would be the first shot on wax from the beef. Meek Mill responded shortly afterwards with the track Repo, going right back at Cassidy, starting his verse with the lines, "Really? Effing condom style? Get your jig on? You a clown ass nigga, put a wig on. Nigga, I be going ham till the pig gone. All this ice around my neck, I got a fridge on. Body cast, put him in a body bag. Broke nigga, we should put you in a body cast." It's clearly no subliminal diss. Condom Style is a reference to the track that Cassidy had recently released, which was a remix of the hit single Gangnam Style by Korean artist Psy. Gangnam Style was the biggest song of the year, and Cassidy released the track to promote safe sex and apparently received a deal with Trojan due to the song. He also makes a reference to the rap battle conversation that started a whole situation with the lines, "And you talking about a battle rap? How you gonna handle that? 100 grand pussy nigga, you ain't got the tab for that. You ain't got the stacks for that. You the one we laughing at. You ain't got half of that. They pump you up, asthma attack." The rap battle that was supposed to happen was gonna be for 100K according to Meek, and of course, he uses that to try to diss Cassidy, saying that he can't afford it. Also, as the song title suggests, he makes a reference to Cassidy's vehicle allegedly being repossessed, once again essentially calling him broke. Later in that song, Meek has the lines, "Get your hate on, Cass, and we ain't talking larceny because they all trash, and your goons ain't riding with you, they all mad." Larceny is a reference to Larceny Family, the rap group including Cassidy, A.R.Ab, and others. A.R.Ab, who by this point had fallen out with Cassidy, made a video responding to Meek Mill's Repo track, essentially confirming what Meek had said about Cassidy not helping out A.R.Ab when they were fighting the murder case.
Describe your relationship with Cassidy.
I talked to, I made the video, the blog about Cass. I was talking some things about him, which is all true. You know what I mean? He left me, I mean, I was broke. You know what I'm saying? It was this incident where we caught the homicide. Well, we got locked up for the homicide, and he had two lawyers. He ain't give me no lawyer.
Long story short, Cassidy and A.R.Ab were fighting the case and wound up doing some time for it. A.R.Ab claims that Cassidy didn't give him money at all while he was locked up and states that he's still cool with Cassidy and he's cool with Meek as well, and he's not going to get involved with the beef, but yet still admitted that those specific lines in the diss track were true. Ironically, a few years later, Meek Mill and A.R.Ab would be beefing, and Cassidy would be asked in interviews about their beef himself. One of the members of Larceny Family, Chubby Jag, responded to the Repo diss with the track Worst Nightmare. The title, of course, you could assume is a reference to Meek's debut album, Dreams and Nightmares, which had just dropped in October that year. Jag rips through Meek Mill quite directly, no subliminal disses needed. He mentions Meek by name over a dozen times, and Rick Ross even called a stray too. He also makes a reference to the situation where fellow MMG artist Gunplay got jumped by G-Unit with the lines, "Kick back, cause one day you gon' see me, one day that ish gon' go one way, G-Unit on Gunplay." On the outro of the song, he also mentions having been in Meek's house before, that most likely being a reference to the footage of Cassidy and Meek Mill freestyling at Meek's place with others. One of them appears to be Jag. Even Meek's baby mother was not off limits, with lines talking about her being bald. Shortly afterwards, Jag filmed a video response to the situation where he talked about exactly why he dropped the diss song. He stated that he was responding to the Larceny Family line in the Repo diss, and that he didn't do it on behalf of Cassidy, and that lines from the diss track like being in Meek's house before are all true.
You feel me? I didn't do this shit for Cass. Cass didn't call me, yo Jag, snap on niggas or jump in your bag and do this. Cass didn't do none of that. Like none of, you know what I'm saying? Nah, I didn't even speak to Cass. Matter of fact, you feel me? Niggas want to know the truth. Cass was in LA when I dropped my shit. The morning I went to his hotel room, he opened the door, he just checking his shit on his phone, he didn't even know what the fuck happened, you feel me? I clearly responded because, you know what I'm saying, my man, you feel me, he had a specific line in his rap that said, you know what I'm saying, that I ain't talking larceny because they all trash. He fuck with AR Ab. Like, y'all know, of course, Cass had his old larceny niggas he fuck with, but I ain't never met them niggas. I've been fucking with Cass for like 4 years, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect to them niggas. I never seen those niggas around, so whatever relationship he had with the old larceny fam members, I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know nothing about that. So when the nigga said, nigga, them larceny niggas trash, I took it as he was disrespecting me. Because if he wasn't talking about AR, apparently that's his man.
He also mentioned that he's not even from Philly like they are, and that he's from Los Angeles, and didn't appreciate the sneak diss aimed in his direction, as he stated that at the time, larceny was him and Cassidy, so it had to be aimed at himself.
He had to be talking about me. Where I come from, nigga, in South Central LA, like, niggas don't talk like that. You don't come at nobody in anything that you doing. I don't care if we having a chefing contest and niggas is on the stove cooking and the niggas say he cook better than me. Nigga, nah. And people around and niggas seeing this shit is going down and I'm not gonna respond. I'm a grown ass man, bro.
Around this time, Cassidy responded to Repo with Raid, a diss track over 10 minutes long where Cassidy raps over several beats, similar to the classic diss track by The Game titled 300 Bars. The track title is a double entendre referencing both the bug spray as well as an acronym for Robert Ass is Dead, as Meek's first name is Robert. He also uses the phrase in the song on his last verse. The artwork for the song is one of the best parts, as it's essentially a parody of the Raid bug spray with Cassidy spraying a roach photoshopped with Meek's face on it. Cass raps over the beat for over a dozen songs throughout the diss, including classic tracks like Tupac's Ambitions as a Rider, The Diplomat's Dipset Anthem, and Boogie Down Productions' classic diss track, The Bridge Is Over. It starts off with a sample from the Meek Mill interview where he was asked by Shaheem Reed about which two battle rappers he would like to see go against each other, and Meek chose Murda Mook and Cassidy, and proceeded to speak about how good of a battle rapper Cass is. It's a great way to start the diss track off to me, as it shows that Meek dissing Cass is hypocritical, considering it seems he looks up to, or at least used to look up to, Cass as a fellow Philadelphia rapper, and getting into a rap battle with him probably isn't going to bode well for Meek. He also takes aim at Meek for things like his yelling when he raps, as well as Meek's claim that Cassidy is a snitch. Give the song a listen to get a better scope of how hard Cass came at Meek. I think it's really one of the more underrated diss tracks from around that time. Meek then had an interview with Hip Hop Since 1987 in which he was asked about the beef of Cassidy and if he was going to respond to the diss track. Meek proceeded to explain that he's not interested in going back and forth anymore with Cass, and things like Cass isn't even welcome in Philadelphia anymore, and he doesn't want to be asked any questions about the beef in other interviews.
First of all, we're gonna get this out the way too. This is one last time. And this only for a Finny interview. Any of y'all niggas ask me about a Cassidy question, we're gonna cut the interview. This a hip hop, this Philly, so we're gonna do whatever. We ain't got no limits to this interview. But first of all, cuz he a weirdo from the town. We ain't gonna use his name no more. Cuz he a weirdo from the town. He can't come back to the city really. Last 5 times he been back to the city, he was back here with me or either A or F.
Then some months later in August 2013, Big Sean released a single, Control, which became a trending topic, largely due to Kendrick's verse, which essentially overshadowed both Big Sean's and Jay Electronica's verse due to the fact that he called out a lot of his contemporaries like A$AP Rocky, J. Cole, Drake, and Meek Mill, some of the biggest newer rappers at the time. Several rappers responded to that track like Papoose, Joel Ortiz, Lupe Fiasco, and of course Cassidy. Cassidy's response included a line referring to his beef with Meek. Then shortly afterwards, Meek released the track Kendrick You Next, which is a diss track to Cassidy, as well as letting Kendrick know, as the title says, that he's next. Meek raps over the beats for Hit 'Em Up, Who Shot Ya, Ether, and Wanksta respectively. Very fitting given the nature of the track. Meek sends shots at Cassidy again for being broke and not being able to afford $100K for the rap battle, as well as bringing up Cassidy's near-fatal car crash that happened in 2006 and left him with broken bones and that scar on his face with the lines, I said, come on with your soft ass, all you niggas all trash. Couldn't bet 100 grand? Nigga, that's a small tab. I'ma hit him where it hurt. This gonna make his dog mad, cause this verse gonna hit his nigga harder than that car crash that you should've died in. I'm mad that you survived it. Now to me, lines like that are the type that take this out of simply battle rap and are fighting words. However, some people say there's nothing off limits when it comes to lines in a rap beef, but hey, everyone has their limits. Shortly after this track, Meek did wind up releasing a diss track aimed at Kendrick, so at least he kept his word on the title. Personally, I do like Kendrick You Next a bit more than the previous diss track, Repo. I feel like Meek went harder, and I like the beats he chose for the track as well. Cassidy then came back again with a diss track to Meek Mill, that being Catch a Body, in which he rapped over the beat to the classic diss track Second Round KO by Cannabis towards LL Cool J. That is yet another beef that has been covered before on the channel, so if you haven't seen it yet, check it out after this to see how that beef went down. On Catch a Body, Cassidy raps for 7 minutes, throwing a barrage of insults Meek's way, like calling him gay, dissing his fashion sense, and questioning his street credibility. He also sends a shot at MMG head Rick Ross with the lines, I got a bunch of rhymes, you say the same ish a bunch of times, and I know Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross. Your boss stole his name and got him pissed off, cause he was really in the street knocking bricks off, kilo after kilo, and yours was a CO. Of course, this was after Ross was outed for being a former correctional officer, and several people were using that against him, mainly 50 Cent, who was beefing with Ross at the time. Cassidy also responds to several lines from Meek's diss tracks, like the claims of Cassidy snitching, and responds to Meek's line about Cassidy's car crash with the lines, I was jumping in ciphers while you was in diapers, so don't disrespect a grown man cause I'll cut your arm off and then smack you with your own hand. Man, you said I should've died in our car crash? Well, I'ma soak you in car gas and light a match. You should stop writing raps cause your bar's trash. I'll have your fraud ass looking like cigar ash. Like Raid, this diss track also goes on for quite a while with plenty of bars at Meek. At this point, the diss tracks had died down and things continued on social media for a bit, and the situation was talked about in interviews by both parties. Cassidy, for example, had an interview on Vlad TV in 2014, and when asked about the beef of Meek Mill, he states that he was friends with Meek before Meek was famous, and that it was strictly a hip-hop thing.
You and Meek Mill went back and forth.
Yeah.
Last year. Have you guys talked at all since that whole back and forth?
Nah, we ain't talked. No.
How do you feel about that whole situation?
It's hip hop, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, the media try to make it seem like it's on some street beef or something like that. Like, I don't want nothing to happen to Meek. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was my homie. I was showing him love before the whole world even knew who he was. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I wish him nothing but the best.
Good to hear that a rap beef doesn't have to go further than lyrics. Have you seen the other videos in the Meek Mill saga? Then you know that they usually involve someone getting physically assaulted at some point, like Quentin Miller, Safaree, and Beanie Sigel. And in 2015, Vlad interviewed Cassidy regarding the whole beef between Drake and Meek, as it was one of the biggest things in rap at the time, and of course Cassidy had beef with Meek prior to that, and Cass essentially stated that Drake came harder than Meek did.
Because Meek started it, you know what I'm saying? Started putting out the shit on Twitter like he always do. I'm thinking he got something in the chamber. I'm thinking he ready to go crazy on the ball. And like Drake said, like he a singing nigga, so you're not really expecting him to even jump in the bag that he jumped in. So he surprised me. He did more than what I expected. And Meek did wow less than what I expected.
That's the general word on the internet, is that people are expecting a lot from Meek. And Meek did start the whole beef and so forth, so you kind of assume he had some crazy shit in the chamber. And, you know, when the disc came out last night, I thought it was solid, but it wasn't the over-the-top shit that everyone was expecting.
Yeah, I didn't even think it was solid, to be for real.
The beef was seemingly squashed. However, they hadn't really spoken to each other according to statements Cass made in interviews.
Have the two of you ever had a conversation or anything of that sort since then?
Nah, we ain't even talked since then, nah. We ain't talked since then.
I mean, at one point y'all two were friends. I mean, is there any chance of that happening?
Yeah, I mean, like I say over and over again, like Meek ain't never punched me, he ain't never shoot at me, he ain't never stabbed me or nothing. Like, Means a little misunderstanding. I felt he should have did one thing. He felt like, fuck it, I'm doing this way, and it's a misunderstanding. Like, everybody go through that.
He also would go on to state multiple times that they worked on songs together in the past and that it was basically easier to get along with Meek before Meek got famous. Was this really a matter of Meek getting famous and forgetting the people who helped him out when he was an unknown rapper? If so, that certainly wouldn't be the first time that newfound fame has caused issues in a friendship. What do you think about the beef between Meek Mill and Cassidy? To me, this was another beef that really seemed to start over a misunderstanding, but I'm glad that thing stayed on wax and didn't devolve into a bunch of tweets and Instagram posts or escalate into serious violence. Check out the other videos to get a fuller picture of Meek Mill and his rap beef escapades. Do you ever think a rap beef would start over someone not sending out a simple tweet? Meek Mill and Drake have a relationship going back to 2012, at least musically. Drake was featured on Meek's Dream Chasers 2 mixtape released in May of that year on the track Amen, which was also released on his debut studio album Dreams and Nightmares, released in October that year. The track was one of Meek Mill's first big singles and marked the beginning of a working relationship between the two. Fast forward to 2015 and Meek was working on his second album, Dreams Worth More Than Money, which featured the hit single Rico, once again featuring Drake, which was released in June. Then on July 21st, Meek Mill came through with the tweet that shocked the internet. Apparently being upset that Drake had not made a tweet in support of his album, Meek decided to out Drake for having a ghostwriter for his verse on the Rico song. This wasn't the first time Meek did something like that, however, in regards to an artist not tweeting in support of his album. He did so prior with his fellow MMG label mate Wale back in 2014. In a series of tweets, he had sent one saying, "Stop comparing Drake to me too. He don't write his own raps. That's why he ain't tweet my album because we found out." He also had another tweet stating that if he knew Drake didn't write the verse, he would have taken it off the album. That would lead many to believe that Drake had a ghostwriter. That was revealed to be Quentin Miller. However, it's not ghostwriting in this instance, as Quentin is directly named in the writing credits for Drake's album If You're Reading This It's Too Late, which was released in February that year. Quentin is credited on multiple songs including Used To, 10 Bands, and Know Yourself. Several others got involved after the tweets by Meek, one being fellow rapper OG Mako, who tweeted also in support of Meek and gave the name of the alleged ghostwriter Quentin Miller, and said that some people already knew, but Meek had essentially put it out in the open now. He stated that the reason he did it was to support his friend Quentin. However, Quentin didn't take it that way, as in interviews he would essentially dismiss OG Mako as any sort of friend anymore because of it.
That other rapper from Atlanta that, did interviews about me talking about how we're friends and shit, he's the one that really said my name. I called him about that, and, his explanation was crazy. Needless to say, we don't have anything to do with each other anymore. I'm not even gonna say his name.
Several other tweets went out, including those by MMG head Rick Ross, Roscoe Dash, and frequent Drake collaborators 40 and Boy Wonder, as well as others, all chiming in with their opinions on the situation. 40, for example, made a series of tweets defending Drake and confirmed that Quentin did write verses for Drake and that it's listed in the credits. The point of a ghostwriter is that they aren't publicly credited, so Quentin having writing credits on the album pretty much discredits that claim, although it is true that he did write verses for Drake. He would be considered just a writer, not a ghostwriter. Canadian politician Norm Kelly also chimed in with a tweet telling Meek that he was no longer welcome in Toronto, which prompted Meek to respond to him on Twitter as well. OG Mako and Boy Wonder had a back and forth on Twitter also because of the allegations, with Boy Wonder backing Drake and Mako supporting Meek. Funkmaster Flex from Hot 97 even got involved on the side of Meek Mill by stating that he has reference tracks for Drake songs. If you don't know what a reference track is, it's basically a track recorded for someone else to use as reference for when they record a song with their own vocals. On the 22nd, a day after Meek's Twitter spree, Funk Flex played a reference track for the Drake song 10 Bands by Quentin Miller, further confirming the allegations. However, Quentin himself would deny the allegations at first before coming clean on working with Drake. Then on July 25th, Drake played his first diss track to Meek Mill, Charged Up, on the Beats One radio show OVO Sound. Throughout the song, Drake doesn't mention Meek directly, but makes it pretty clear he's responding to the whole ghostwriting situation and Meek. The lines, "No woman ever had me starstruck," or was able to tell me to get my bars up. Stand out in particular as being a reference to Meek Mill and Nicki Minaj's relationship, as at the time, they were together and Nicki Minaj was the bigger name and considered by some to be the better rapper. It was pretty tame for a diss track, however, but it was only a part of what Drake had in store for Meek at the time. Meek responded on Twitter, essentially calling the track weak. Around this time, Funk Flex went on the radio and announced that he would be playing a Meek Mill track dissing Drake. However, no such track wound up being played, which you could imagine was a hit to his credibility and not received well by all the people steady listening, waiting for the Meek response. And a Meek response it was. Flex did wind up eventually playing more Quentin Miller reference tracks, however, including Used To and Know Yourself. Ebro, also from Hot 97, would get on the radio the next day and speak about the situation and essentially defend Flex, and also manage to throw shots at rival station Power 105 again while he was at it.
We specifically were told that Meek had something for Flex last night, and we waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And now, y'all could go as hard as y'all want to go at Flex. We've been through many wars here at Hot 97 before. Nobody is afraid of y'all. Matter of fact, yo, Breakfast Club, I'm going to deal with you later. Because your whole existence is based on coming on Hot 97 and talking about people here. Your entire existence. And I don't care how much money iHeart puts behind y'all or how many random markets you in. I don't want to be in Boca Luca, Mississippi, my G. That's not what I want to do with my career.
Charged Up was a quick response to Meek before his second and much more popular diss track was released. That being the hit single Back to Back, which featured several lines coming at Meek, including more about his relationship with Nicki Minaj, which was released a few days after Charged Up. The cover art for the song was even a shot at Meek Mill, as it was a reference to the 1993 World Series game where the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Philadelphia Eagles. A reference to the fact that Drake, a rapper from Toronto, is essentially beating Meek Mill, a rapper from Philadelphia. This is the track that brought Charlamagne the God from Power 105 and fellow Philly rapper A.R.Ab into the beef with the lines, "You gonna make me step out of my effing frame. You gonna make me buy bottles for Charlamagne. You gonna make me go out of my effing way. I waited 4 days, nigga, where ya at? I drove here in the race playing A.R.Ab." He really did wind up buying bottles for Charlamagne the God, who had been critical of Drake at times, and also was a good move, as Funk Flex from Hot 97, which is a rival station to Power 105, was on Meek's side. So essentially, he was playing the radio host against each other. Back to Back also had one of the harder hitting lines in the beef with, "You love her, then you gotta give the world tour. Is that a world tour or your girl's tour? I know that you gotta be a thug for her. This ain't what she meant when she told you to open up more." That being a reference to Meek's relationship with Nicki Minaj and the fact that Meek was a part of Nicki's Pink Print tour that year. One of the other most memorable lines was, "Yeah, trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Yeah, you getting bodied by a singer nigga. I'm not the type of nigga that'll type the niggas," which pretty much became an internet sensation at the time and was essentially a response to all of the tweets that Meek Mill sent out that started the beef. The song was a hit and even got him a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Performance. Other people were involved in the beef or had their own as well due to various circumstances. Shortly after Back to Back, Meek Mill released the track Wanna Know, which takes aim mainly at Drake but also has a few lines to Safaree in response to the diss track Safaree had recently released, titled Lifeline. Throughout the track, Meek disses Drake for having Quentin writing verses and mentions the beef Drake had with Chris Brown, as well as the allegations that Diddy smacked Drake back in 2014 over a dispute regarding the 0 to 100 track. It samples the track Graveyard Symphony, which is well known for being the theme song for the wrestler The Undertaker. A pretty fitting theme for what Meek was probably attempting to do, which is body Drake's career. The cover art for the song features Drake's face photoshopped over Fab Morvan from Milli Vanilli and includes a picture of a ghost, which of course is a reference to the ghostwriting allegations. These things were pretty good, but as a diss track in response to Charged Up and Back to Back, it wasn't as well received or commercially successful. Shortly afterwards, A.R.Ab dissed Meek Mill over the beat to Back because Meek dissed him while on stage during the Pink Print tour, essentially calling Meek fake throughout the track and questioning Meek for coming at him when Drake is the one who dissed Meek. Meek Mill's cousin and fellow Dream Chaser O'Malley then dissed A.R.Ab also on the beat for Back to Back for A.R.Ab dissing Meek. Then in September that year, Drake and Future released What a Time to Be Alive, which is considered a commercial mixtape. That is still a weird thing to me, as a commercial mixtape is essentially just an album. However, Drake would do the same thing that next year when he released More Life as a playlist. Remember the good old days back when rappers released mixtapes for free and you could just download it and be on your way? Music had a little more staying power back then too, I feel like, but that's another topic. Either way, it includes multiple songs on which Drake takes subliminal shots at Meek Mill. On Digital Dash, for example, he raps, "I might take Quentin to Follies, you hate your life, just be honest." Follies being a strip club in Atlanta, the mention of Quentin and hanging out with him and this other person hating their life can be seen as a diss to Meek Mill hating the way things are now since the beef started. Another example being on the track 30 for 30, which is a Drake solo and has several lines referencing the beef like, "The pen is working if you niggas need some ghost lines. I thought you wanted yours like I want mine. I guess you just making moves on your own time. But just know it'll be January in no time and your absence is very concerning. It's like you went on vacation with no plan of returning." Which is ironic as that next January is when Meek released another diss track aimed at Drake. On the track I'm the Plug, Drake has a line, "And it really ain't no thing, I got Summer P in this thing." Summer P is DJ Drama's ex-wife. Drama is from Philadelphia, just like Meek, so you could say there's a connection there as well. After the song was released, Summer P also tweeted out that lyric, possibly hinting towards something between her and Drake. It is rumored that Drama, much to his namesake, is a big part of the drama behind Meek Mill and Drake. Allegedly, Drama is the one that leaked the reference tracks to Funk Flex to begin with, because of Drake sleeping with Summer P. This rumor would be furthered some months later when DJ Khaled released his 9th album, Major Key, which featured the track For Free, which was the lead single. On that track, Drake has the line, "Last year I had Drama Girl, not right now," which can easily be seen as a double entendre referring to the beef of Meek Mill that started the previous year, as well as DJ Drama's ex-wife, Summer P. DJ Drama at first would deny that he was involved with the leaking of the reference tracks and the whole situation between his ex-wife and Drake, but a few years later he would essentially own up to the situation during interviews.
You know what?
A lot of niggas be lying.
It's the life.
She's okay.
That's why me and Drake probably have had some issues because we loving the same bros. Yeah,
the same bros.
We're both certified lover boys.
Then on December 1st, Rick Ross released the track Color Money, which the title is a reference to the incident that occurred with Plies being assaulted on stage some months prior. The track is from Ross's 8th album, Black Market, released that same month. Rick Ross takes aim at Birdman in the second verse with lines like, "Color Money got your chick out on a world tour. My little homie made $1 million on his girl tour. We back to back and down to whack a nigga unborn. Miami niggas got him changing all the gun laws. So run, Forrest, got some shooters and they dying too. I got more money than that pussy that you signed to." The girl tour, of course, being Nicki Minaj's Pink Print tour, and the last line being a reference to Birdman as Drake was signed to Cash Money Young Money. Ross went on the Breakfast Club shortly afterwards, and when asked about the lines being possibly aimed at Wayne, Birdman, or Jay Prince, he stated that Wayne is the homie, Jay Prince is the big homie, and that besides that, it is what it is. So in other words, yeah, shots fired at Birdman.
That's a good answer. All right, let's get right to it. Are you taking shots at Drake on Color Money?
I mean, you know, I just released Color Money, and that record is what it is, you dig? And it's a lot of different people that's going to interpret it a lot of different ways, and it is what it is.
Well, how did you mean it? Because we had a debate up here about it.
We did. I feel like it was just a clever play on words.
I thought it was
but
a little
then the
stab.
run, Forrest, run.
A little stabby stab.
I mean, everybody who know Rose know how I get down, you know, and when I come, I come. So, you know, I just say, you know, let's see how it fold. Let's see how it unfold. You know, we most definitely know how I come and what I do. I don't play no games.
Because you said you get more money than the person that you signed to, so then that means it's kind of like you're throwing shots at, I guess, Baby, Wayne, Jay Prince, maybe.
How you feel?
I feel like it was just a play on words. I don't know, though.
He's not going to answer the question.
Weezy, my homie. I was
Okay.
just with Weezy the other night in the club. He was just on the remix with me. Jay Prince, that's my big homie. Anything else?
See,
take it how you want it.
A little chin check.
Yeah, take it how you want it.
In January 2016, Meek Mill released the EP 4 for 4, which he used to diss Drake as well as 50 Cent for chiming in on social media and clowning Meek Mill for getting dissed by Drake on Back to Back, as well as the fact that 50 and Rick Ross were beefing at the time as well. He sends shots at 50 on the tracks pray for him and gave him hope. On the track I'm the Plug, Meek raps over the beat to the Drake and Future song I'm the Plug and uses the same cadence from Jumpman. Both tracks are from What a Time to Be Alive. He sends shots at Drake for having a writer with the lines, "Ain't nobody tell them this ain't what they want, man. You ain't really write it. I'm like, who's your stuntman?" Stuntman being a reference to the fact that some actors have a stuntman doing certain physical feats that they wouldn't be able to do themselves. A pretty simple but effective line. It can also be a reference to the fact that Drake was an actor before he became a rapper. For those that don't know, he played Jimmy Brooks on the teen drama Degrassi: The Next Generation. Personally, that was my introduction to Drake, as I used to watch the show back in high school. Meek Mill ends the track quoting Drake's world tour line from Back to Back and essentially states that he's made a lot of money from the tour and gets to sleep with Nicki Minaj at the same time. Killing two birds with one stone, I guess. About 2 weeks later, Drake released the track Summer 16, where he sends several shots at Meek again. Who would have thought that rappers don't like being outed for using writers for some of their verses? Drake mentions the fact that him and Meek were at the same hotel briefly, and he played back to back on the floor above where Meek was staying with the lines, "I let this record drop, you were staying right below me, nigga, we must have played it 100 times, you was going to bed," and follows it up with perhaps one of the funnier lines of the beef. "You don't have to try and say it louder, nigga, trust we heard you the first time," which is a reference to Meek Mill's tendency to yell his lines in his songs, which has been a critique of Meek Mill that many have brought up online, and it's something that has personally turned me off from his music as well. Right after Summer 16, Meek Mill released 4 for 4 Part 2, which, like the first EP, is 4 tracks long and includes a diss track to Drake. That being the track War Pain featuring O'Malley, which is a direct response to Summer 16, despite the fact that it had just been released that same day. Allegedly, the lyrics to the track were leaked to Meek before it was released, so he was able to respond to it immediately. It was rumored to be leaked by DJ Khaled, who has had Meek Mill and Rick Ross on several of his albums. Meek, however, would claim that it was Drake's ghostwriter who leaked him the song. Once again, a shot at Drake. Regardless of who did it, Meek responded to various lines from Summer 16. Drake compared himself to Jay-Z on that song, and on War Pain, Meek Mill refuted Drake's claim with the line, "And you claiming you Hove now? Why you state that ish?" And he questions Drake for the shots that were thrown at Tory Lanez as well. He also disses Drake for his dance moves in the Hotline Bling video. War Pain was received better by fans compared to Wanna Know, but was considered by some to be a little bit too late of a response, as Charged Up and Back to Back had been released 6 months ago at that point. Then in March 2016, on a Quentin Miller interview with Vlad TV, it was confirmed that Quentin was jumped by the Dream Chasers due to the Tumblr post that Quentin had made back in 2015, essentially stating that he isn't a ghostwriter for Drake and that he helped him write a few songs and that he's proud to collaborate with Drake.
It's true. They caught me, we was in LA, I was walking to the Nike store, and he approached me, and this was really my first time really talking with me, and basically told me, like, you know, he didn't appreciate the letter that I dropped, and it made him seem like he was a liar or whatnot, and they fucking stole off on me in the Nike store and ran. I shed blood in the Nike store on Wilshire.
The post was eventually taken down by Quentin, but apparently Meek didn't feel too happy about the post to begin with, considering what happened afterwards. Meek also took shots at Drake on his remix to the Fat Joe and Remy Ma hit song All the Way Up. His version includes Fabulous and Jadakiss and was released in May. He takes shots at Drake with lines like, "This is hip hop, you only write it, don't record it. I don't know how to get down across the border," which is again a reference to the Quentin Miller writing situation and the fact that Drake is from Canada. He also has lines referencing Drake's songs like 6 Man and Started From the Bottom, as well as Drake's album Views, which was released the month prior. Throughout the beef were plenty of social media posts, shots thrown at concerts, and they even had companies like Whataburger and Burger King tweeting about the beef. But the diss tracks between the two were pretty much done by this point. The tweets from the burger companies remind me of the Fabulous line, "Beef is only good when you in the burger business." If you haven't heard that song, that's Fabulous's song Pain from the Soul Tape mixtape. Yet another rapper entered the fray at this point, as in June 2016, Joe Budden started releasing diss tracks at Drake, and on the track Making a Murderer Part 1, he mentioned Meek as well with the lines, "I'm right here per your request, now you stuck in them shoes, no alliances will Meek, it's still F him too." as at this time Joe had said some things on his podcast about Meek, to which Meek responded, and they went back and forth on Twitter. The next year in November, Meek was sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison for once again violating parole, but was released in April 2018. Things between the two had calmed down a lot before then, however, as in November, shortly after Meek got sent back to prison, Drake was on tour, and during a show in Australia, he shouted "Free Meek Mill" in response to seeing a fan wearing a Free Meek Mill t-shirt.
I see you with the Venus 3 stripe. I see you got the Free Meek Mill t-shirt. Free Meek Mill too, man, for real.
Several other artists at the time were in support of freeing Meek, but to see Drake say it, considering their beef, showed not only how it was apparently quite obvious how unjust his situation was, but how the beef between the two was not beyond reconciliation. The beef was officially squashed when Drake appeared on the track Going Bad, a single from Meek's 4th album, Championship, which would be their 3rd officially released song and the 3rd of Meek's albums that Drake appeared on. In the years since then, other people involved in the beef like DJ Drama, Funkmaster Flex, and Quentin Miller have had various interviews giving more details on the beef that weren't known or confirmed yet at the time.
You know what I'm saying? But what was just, like, when you seeing this and going through that, because that was such a fucking moment, Summer 16, that was like...
I like good, I mean, I gotta be honest, I kind of bit that whole routine or my involvement. I was copying, watching Red Alert and Shan and KRS-One. And I watched people throw the flame on it.
Yeah.
And I said, if I throw the flame on this,
you sure did. Yo.
This can be one of those. And I wanted to be, I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to be in the history book like Red Alert and Shan and KRS-One. And
one of the biggest was in a 2022 Vlad TV interview of Quentin Miller, where Quentin stated that Meek Mill had actually approached him through DJ Drama and Dom Cannon, trying to get his writing services, but he had turned them down.
Walk me through what exactly happened, because you're writing for Drake, and you guys are having a lot of success with that. And initially, Meek Mill approached you to write for him as well?
Yeah, so after the Rico situation, and Meek has knowledge of the shit, then I was approached by, it was never direct. It was always through like Drama or Cannon. And they were like, yo, Meek wants you to write for him or whatever. And I was just like, nah, he asked me the first time, I said, nah. Then like maybe a week or two later, they asked me again. I said, nah. At this point, Drama was very upset. He was really upset about me saying no.
Between things like this and the whole situation with Quentin getting jumped years back due to the beef, many people feel like he got the worst out of the situation, especially considering how Meek and Drake have worked together since then. In that same Vlad TV interview, Quentin also mentioned that he didn't get any publishing checks from it because of the label deal that he was in.
Even though, I was in my horrible publishing situation with Tricky, so I never got a publishing check off of any Drake songs.
Wait. You never got a publishing check off of any Drake song?
No. I never got a single publishing check off any songs. I had to feed my family off getting paid under the table in that situation because Tricky and them wouldn't let me go. And it took me, I didn't get out that deal till 2019, 2020. I signed 2011.
Oh.
Yeah, and they wouldn't let me out.
So think about that. Quentin really did get the short end of the stick in this situation. Doing all that writing and not getting properly paid for it and getting dragged into a beef and talked about by so many people, not to mention losing his leg due to a car accident. DJ Drama since then has been on various podcasts himself and has essentially come clean since the beef and admitted that his involvement in the beef was due to Drake and him sharing a woman.
Off top, the way you started saying Drake smashed my girl.
Your ex-girl.
My ex-girl. Me and Drake have shared women.
Okay. Yeah, y'all light skin. I know how y'all niggas get down. I'll be sure. They go to I'll be sure club. He tell y'all who y'all can hate.
We have women in common. That's a better way of saying it.
We have women in common. Right? We have women in common.
He even stated that he feels like everyone in the beef made a mistake, including Nicki Minaj, Drake, Meek Mill, and himself.
And not only that, Quentin Miller didn't do anything wrong, and he's a talented artist.
Listen, everybody did something wrong.
Okay.
Everybody. Quentin did something wrong. DJ Drama did something wrong. Drake did something wrong. Meek Mill did something wrong. Nicki Minaj did something wrong.
In hindsight, you can definitely say that everyone had their role to play in this situation. This is one of the biggest beefs of the past decade, and also one that, like some rap beefs of recent, started on social media. A simple tweet set off a chain of events that changed the careers of at least a few people, and some might say that this was a plot that was conspired by people to try to discredit and bring down Drake from the top of the rap game. However, what do you think about the beef? Leave a comment in the comment section below with your thoughts and what else you'd like to see. Personally, I like the fact that both of these artists put out diss tracks and didn't rely solely on social media posts, despite Drake's line about Twitter fingers. I think Drake came out on top and had the better diss tracks overall, but I will also admit that I've never been a fan of Meek Mill's music much to begin with, but both of them have still had a lot of success in the rap game. You ever seen a rap beef start over a chick? Well, yeah, that's kind of what happened with Philly's own Meek Mill and Safaree from Brooklyn. Safaree and Nicki were a couple for over a decade before separating in 2014. Shortly after they parted ways, Meek Mill and Nicki Minaj got together. Allegedly, Meek Mill played a part in the breakup of Safaree and Nicki, which I'll be getting into shortly. But essentially, Meek jumped in and took his place as Nicki's man, and the drama was on. In June 2015, Safaree released the track Love the Most, featuring Marcus Anthony, which had Safaree venting his frustrations about the relationship. He also alludes to Meek being involved in their breakup with the lines, "Inside, I was feeling like a mother effing fool. Life revolves around a chick. Show me a man that won't cheat. Said I was overreacting, but you did like. Said I was overreacting, guess you did like." The last two lines are repeated for emphasis and left without a name being stated, but considering how Meek got with Nicki so quickly after being with Safaree, on top of the fact that Meek would rhyme with cheat, it probably seems obvious that these lines were implying that he had a hunch about the whole Meek situation. Safaree then released a diss track titled Lifeline. The track features several lines aimed at Meek Mill and Nicki Minaj for their newfound relationship. He starts off with the line, "You dream about Drake numbers in your nightmares," which is a reference to the Meek and Drake beef and how Drake is the much higher selling artist of the two, as well as a reference to Meek's debut album. He continues on throwing darts at Meek like this in his appearance by saying he looks like a gorilla, and his relationship with Nicki with lines like, "I'm going up, that's an incline. If she leave you, you go in decline," which is essentially Safaree stating that he's going to be more famous now that he's not with Nicki anymore, having her be in a spotlight, while if she were to leave Meek, then Meek would no longer be as famous. At this point in Meek's career, he was at the height of his success, both due to his second album, Dreams Worth More Than Money, which did quite well and topped the charts, as well as his newfound relationship with Nicki and being on her Pink Print tour, which did great in sales. Not to mention, he probably got at least a few new fans for a while that were introduced to him through his relationship with Nicki Minaj and the songs they did together, like the hit single All Eyes on You, which also features Chris Brown and was included on Dreams Worth More Than Money. Shortly after this, Meek responded to Drake's diss tracks Charged Up and Back to Back with his own diss track, Wanna Know, which took aim at Safaree with the second verse. The lines, "Heard that other nigga talking, we ain't get back yet, let's keep it short nigga, you ain't get your chick back yet, and now she rocking with the chaser, and now you missed that check. You went from Clearport to boarding pass, you missed that jet," are a reference to how Safaree is no longer with her and how he's probably missing the lifestyle he used to have because of her fame and fortune. Also essentially implying that Safaree isn't worth his time, as he already has his ex-girlfriend, and Drake is more of a worthy opponent. Safaree and Nicki Minaj at this point had also been going back and forth on social media about their breakup and other things that had happened in their relationship. Several tweets were sent back and forth, as well as comments made in interviews that would go on for a few years between the two. Nicki Minaj even sent a subliminal diss to him during a concert talking about someone who claimed they wrote her raps. This surely only added more fuel to the fire that was Safaree and Meek Mill. Then in May 2016, Nicki Minaj announced on Twitter that she was served with a lawsuit. Safaree was suing her for money owed to him for his alleged writing on her albums. This would lead Nicki to send out several more tweets regarding the situation, dissing Safaree for the lawsuit. Then a few months later in September, Game started beefing with Meek Mill as well, as he dropped a diss track titled 92 Bars, which was featured on the album 1992, released a month later, and he also dropped Pest Control, which used the beat from Young M.A.'s hit single, Ooh, and features a reference to Safaree and Meek's beef with the lines, "Now tell the world how you got your chick. You FaceTime Nicki while Safaree was effing a chick." This probably came across as a pretty wild accusation at the time, but Safaree would actually back a Game up in this situation by basically confirming that it was true. So yes, Meek did play a big role in Safaree and Nicki breaking up, and used that to his advantage to get with Nicki, who is someone that he had wanted to be with for a few years already at that point. Back in 2010 on the track Miss Me from Meek's Mr. Philadelphia mixtape, he has the lines, "I love Nicki Minaj, I swear y'all, I admit it. I hope one day I can F her just to say I effing hit it. And girl, I'm effing serious. I lick it before I stick it. If you ever hear this verse, I'm on your top just like a fitted." And he also has a tweet from back then too, where he stated that he wanted to get her pregnant. So yeah, it's pretty clear that Meek was feeling Nicki Minaj for a while, and it comes across like he was plotting on this. The beef between Game and Meek was now ongoing, along with the beef between Safaree and Meek, and Drake and Meek. So around this time, Meek was definitely in the midst of some drama. In January 2017, it was announced that Meek and Nicki Minaj had broken up. However, Safaree still had his individual problems with both of them, and Meek and Nicki now would have their own issues. Then in February, Safaree released a track titled All That, which has been labeled as a Meek Mill and Nicki Minaj diss by some. But listening to the song, it doesn't sound like a diss to them, however, as several lines can easily be interpreted as shots at T.I. actually, or other artists. Then in June 2017, the beef between Meek and Safaree got physical, as Safaree got swung on, allegedly by Dream Chasers, while they were in LA for the BET Awards. Video footage was seen of him standing on the sidewalk, Meek Mill getting out of a car nearby, and then some men start chasing Safaree across the street. Another man jumps in to help Safaree, but it appeared that Safaree had run off. He appeared on Complex's Everyday Struggle later on and broke down exactly what happened at the time leading up to the jumping and his perspective.
Whole situation happened. We know, of course, you got on Instagram, blah blah, but
I never really explained it, you know. And this is gonna be my first time even talking about it because I never really explained the situation. I was sitting in a car. It was a new Rolls Royce Dawn, sitting there in valet waiting. And the funny thing is, I was waiting for my security. And that's the crazy thing. The crazy thing.
We were waiting for our security.
I was waiting for my security, and I seen this dude, whatever. He seen me. I said what up to him, and then I got out to holler at him. I probably was standing outside for 30 seconds, right?
Time out. Who is this dude that you got out of the Dawn to speak to
DJ
for 30
Self?
seconds?
No, Self pulled up after. As a matter of fact, it was a camera dude who I knew. It was like a camera dude, and I wanted to talk to him about some other shit, right?
You could roll the window down and talk to him.
So his criticism was that you were
I want to hear
outside
the story
for too
before I
long.
give him my criticism. Let's
All right, so look, boom, outside, probably like 30 seconds, and then Self pulls up. He was in a car. He was with some other people. When he saw me, he got out the car, and I think he was with Dream Doll, and she went up to go change. She was changing her clothes in the car.
Of course, he was with Dream Doll.
So then, me and him was talking. I probably was outside for no more than a minute. Then, boom, I just felt like that shit just happened in the back of my head.
Meek Mill wasn't physically involved in the altercation and would deny any involvement in the men jumping Safaree. Fortunately, things didn't escalate any further from there. The social media jabs and all that continued for a little while though, like Safaree going off on IG Live about Meek Mill shortly after the jumping, saying that he'd be willing to fight Meek one-on-one.
I hopped out the whip, saw Meek, he hopped out, then I just got snuck. Niggas jumped me, whole bunch of niggas. Meek, you are the biggest pussy on this planet. You saw me, you ain't do shit, you had your niggas jump me, one-on-one, you can't fuck with me. So that's why you had to do that. Y'all niggas jump me. Niggas call me from the back, niggas call me from the side, all that. all white. I'm still clean and I still got all my shit on. But my nigga, the way you move like a bitch. You act like you the hardest nigga on this planet. You are not hard, my nigga. You roll 20 deep everywhere because you're scared to death. You a bitch, period. On some real shit. Nigga, meet me anywhere one-on-one out here while you out here this weekend being scared because you still running from the fucking game, and let me know what's up, you bitch ass nigga.
Over a year later, in December 2018, Safaree stated that he was ready to move on from the beef. Considering they started beefing over a woman that neither of them were with anymore, as she herself moved on from Meek too and got married and has a child now, it's nice to see them all put the beef behind them. By that point, Meek had reconciled with Drake as well as The Game also. This beef was then dead too, which is interesting considering that at this point, Meek and Nicki were no longer together and that was the cause of the beef, but it still continued on for a while after the breakup. This beef was a bit of a shorter one with less diss tracks going back and forth between the two, but it was also one that you could say was overshadowed due to the bigger beefs going on around the time, like Nicki Minaj beefing with Remy Ma and Meek Mill beefing with Drake. The two went on to continue making music, and Safaree didn't have big albums or anything, but he has had a career on the reality TV show Love and Hip Hop for some years now, which seems to be working well for him. What do you think about this beef? Is Meek Mill a snitch to you? Did he do the right thing by informing Nicki Minaj in order to get with her? Is all really fair in Love and War? Meek and Game had a working relationship if nothing else, as they have a song together on Game's album, the documentary 2 Collector's Edition, titled The Soundtrack, which was released in January 2016. Ironically enough, another song of the same name by The Game was featured on his following album, 1992, released in October 2016, which also featured a track dissing Meek Mill, but I'll be getting to that in a minute. The beef between these two started in September 2016 when Game accused Meek Mill of snitching on him regarding the robbery of Sean Kingston's chain back in June that year. According to Game, Meek talked to police and told them that Game or someone in his circle was behind the robbery, and he went off on Meek Mill during a concert, calling him a snitch and saying he wanted to fight him one-on-one.
Meek Mill not snitching on me, I never heard of that. Hey, from now on, it's Meek Mill. That's for me. He thought he had a problem with Drake, now he got a real motherfucking problem. Me, let's go. Snitch ass nigga, got police knocking at my fucking door in Cali. Let's go. Wait, hold on, one more time. And ain't nobody gonna die. We ain't talking about no guns and nothing there. I'm talking about Meek got some niggas with him that's cool. I got niggas with me that's cool with him. I just want to beat that ass one good time, hand up. Just when you see me, square up. It ain't gotta be about no guns, Meek Mill, nigga, I'm gang. West Side Block, the Cedar Block. Let's go, I'm in my head.
It's nice to see a rapper just wanting to fight rather than shoot it out or get on social media and have Twitter fingers, but the only rapper I remember Game fighting is 40 Glock, if you can really call it that. Game then dropped a diss track, 92 bars, aimed at Meek Mill. Like other diss tracks by The Game, such as the classic 300 bars aimed at G-Unit, Game goes off for several minutes straight with no chorus. Game references the Sean Kingston robbery and Meek allegedly snitching with the lines, "I got a chick from Minneapolis, pack a semi, bang the ratchet at Denny's and fly herself back to Philly. She got a couple mil and she don't even know Meek, and ever since that nigga snitched on me, we just don't speak." Some of the hardest lines aimed at Meek came right afterwards, however. See, that issue you got with Drake is like a slow leak. Blood'll be dripping like Niagara if I poke Meek. Nicki won't get no sleep. I'm coming through at 4 a.m. 4 deep to leave his dead body under soaked sheets. It could happen low key. You better have Ross call me or you gonna be eye level with a roach feet. This ain't a diss, nigga. This is all lives matter except this niggas. Which is of course a reference to the Black Lives Matter movement, which started back in 2013. Those lines also weren't the only reference Game made to the beef with Drake and Meek, as right afterwards he has the following lines. "My nigga Drizzy pack you out and you ain't do-ish. This the Golden State and my shooters ain't on no hoop-ish, nigga. You know that I snap you like a toothpick, and snitching on niggas ain't never been no cool-ish." He then even states an interest in Nicki Minaj, who Meek was still with at the time, with the lines, "And I've been wanting to give Nicki this pool stick, so tell your little Vibrant thing, come F with Q-Tip." Vibrant Thing being a reference to the hit solo single by Q-Tip. Game was featured in the music video to the Nicki Minaj song Pills and Potions from her third album, Pink Print, which released around the time Meek and her got together. Shortly afterwards, Big Meech, one of the co-founders of BMF, reached out to Meek Mill, telling him to be careful about beefing so he doesn't wind up in prison himself, and Meek shared it on Instagram. Game and Meek proceeded to have an Instagram beef for a little while, with Sean Kingston also jumping in to diss Game.
You the same nigga, your mama was a crip, you a blood. Listen, you fake ass, hoe ass nigga. You a stripper, the whole world know what you about, hoe ass nigga. You trying to sell some albums. How the fuck you look beefing with a pop star, nigga? You know what the fuck happened in the club. Them niggas ran up, hit me in the fucking head with a bottle, nigga. They took off my jewelry. Nobody shot no fade with me. Nobody did nothing. You a hoe ass nigga, body boy. Suck your bumbo clock, mother pussy wall. Oh, you feel like, boy. Gotta see a nigga that put a bumbo clock, change a heart show, nigga. You want to change a heart show? What the fuck you talking about? You a disgrace to the blood, nigga. I fuck with real bloods, you hoe ass nigga. Fuck you. Everything you claim for, hoe ass nigga. You 43 years old, still trying to do music, bitch. Hit me up. I need a hook. I need you to write for me, Sean. I'm trying to do some shit. Nigga, I was a fan of the documentary. You been ass ever since, bitch.
Good.
Yeah, I'm a fat nigga. The world know I'm a fat nigga. I went platinum being a fat nigga. Fat nigga that'll still fuck your bitch, nigga. Anywhere, nigga, you buff ass, steroid ass nigga. Going to running Cannon every day. 48 of fitness, 48 of fitness. Go take another steroid pill, you hoe ass nigga. You was wearing a thong, nigga. You can't talk to me. I ain't no rapper. I ain't gotta be no street nigga. The world know what you is, nigga. You ain't even good in your own city, nigga. You was beefing with your brother, Big Face 100, nigga. He the real street nigga. Stop rapping about your brother like you hoe ass nigga. You a hoe, and the whole world know. Black Wall Street, eat a dick, you bitch.
And Drake even jumped in to make a post supporting the Game's new album. It's not too surprising given that Drake was beefing with Meek at the time, and Game and Drake had collaborated on the song 100 from Game's album Documentary 2, which had been released back in October 2015. Meek Mill then teamed up with O'Malley and Beanie Sigel to fire a diss track back at Game with their remix to the Young M.A. hit single, Ooh. Throughout the track, the crew take various shots at Game and his street credibility, as well as his brief stint as a stripper. Beanie Siegel's only lines in the song were, "One phone call, I'm in LA in 3 hours. The bully, please don't bring me out of retirement." But that was enough for Game to take aim at Beanie now as well. After the track was released, Game made an IG post dissing Beanie for losing a lot of weight and claiming that he looks like an addict and needs to go back to rehab. Nipsey Hussle then chimed in regarding the Meek and Game beef with tweets of his own, stating that people need to stop hyping up the beef between the two and that no one needs to kill each other. Essentially, he wanted them to squash the beef before things went any further, and it's a nice thing to see. It's unfortunate that we lost a younger rapper like Nipsey who was not for all the negativity among rappers. The beef may have started over alleged snitching, but according to findings by TMZ, Meek Mill was not mentioned at all in the police report, meaning he had not spoken to the police, and Game apparently wasn't named either, and on top of that, Sean Kingston allegedly hadn't even talked to the police about the situation himself. However, Game insisted that police had indeed spoken to him about it. Only a few days after dropping 92 bars, Game came back at Meek and crew with another diss track, that being his own remix to Ooh, just like they had done. It was called Pest Control, which of course is a reference to Meek being a snitch, or in this case, a rat. He sets off his first verse with the line, "All rats gotta die though." So yeah, like his beef with 50 Cent, he insists on calling his opponent a snitch. With lines like, "This nigga take an L every time he go viral," he essentially disses Meek for the beef with Drake. It's a funny line as typically going viral would be considered a win, but Meek went viral back in 2015 because of being in a beef with one of the biggest artists at the time and getting dissed repeatedly. Game also had the line, "Still chasing dreams, I made dreams in 05 though," which is a reference to the fact that Meek Mill's group and mixtape series is called Dream Chasers, and Game has a hit single called Dreams that was released back in 05 on the Documentary album. Game also makes a reference to O'Malley's Sway in the Morning freestyle from 2014 with the line, "We seen your sway freestyle, O'Malley ain't the answer." Then a clip plays from the infamous Kanye West interview also on Sway in the Morning. He goes on to diss Beanie for getting involved in the beef with the lines, "Yeah, take Beans back to rehab," on Instagram looking like a mother effing beanbag. That being a reference to Beanie Sigel going to rehab back in 03 for his drug problem. Sean Kingston wasn't left out of this diss track either, with lines like, "Sean Kingston got robbed and now you niggas best friends, fat sloppy Twinkie eating ass nigga." So yeah, no one is immune from Game's wrath on this track. Game ends his second verse with the lines, "You like a boat with a hole, you can't sail, Meek Mill. Me and Drake gave you them 2 L's." which sums everything up quite nicely as it is a reference to the L's in Meek's name as well as his perceived loss in his beef with Drake. As usual, other people gave their opinions on the beef. Fellow Philly rapper Gilly the Kid, for example, got on Instagram and said that someone has to die in the beef or it ain't real.
I ain't even know this shit with Meek and Game was going on, man. That's just crazy. Somebody gotta die. If somebody don't die, that shit don't mean nothing. Somebody gotta die. At this point, somebody gotta pull that pistol out and put some action down. You know what I mean? If not, this shit gonna be fake, man. This is fake beef ever, man. Somebody gotta die. Only way I see it.
Didn't Gilly have beef with Wayne and Birdman years ago? I can't help but wonder where that stance was back then. Either way, it's a sharp contrast to Nipsey's stance on the beef. Game went on the Wendy Williams show around this time as well and was asked about the beef, to which she had likened to the beef between Tupac and Biggie, since Meek is from the East and Game is from the West. Fortunately, the Game essentially stated that it was going to stay on wax.
So, what's going on with you and Meek Mill?
You know what it is? It's a little hip hop beef, you know.
JC,
here she go.
But I'm just saying that's not good. You know, this harkens back to the East Coast, West Coast from back in the day with Tupac and Biggie, and nothing good ended up of that. And you know, you got kids, and I know that you and Snoop and have been very involved with gang violence and getting together with the police. And I know you have your what's your charity called?
Robin Hood Project.
Robin Hood Foundation. You're a good dude, man. Why are you fighting with this man?
It's not, we haven't had a fight yet.
You're not gonna have a fight.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, it's not a fight, it's just hip hop.
Dream Chasers artist Chino also hopped into the beef with tweets talking about Game having a ghostwriter, allegedly someone named Marcus Black. Yeah, this whole ghostwriter thing got a bit ridiculous. Game would ease up on the beef, at least temporarily, due to a change of heart spurred by the murder of Terrence Crutcher, an unarmed black man that was tased and shot by officers Tyler Turnbull and Betty Shelby, respectively. Shelby was indicted on charges, but ultimately found not guilty of first-degree manslaughter. This, however, would not be enough to completely stop the beef. In an interview on Sirius XM around this time, Game detailed how the beef started and the three-way phone call he had with Meek Mill and Sean Kingston regarding the situation.
If he ain't lie about it. So what happened was I got Meek on the phone, and I was like, you told Sean that. He was like, I ain't tell that fat motherfucker nothing. So I said, hey, damn, that's a little key snitching too. My bad. No, I'm fucking with you. Nah, so he said, I ain't tell him nothing. So I said, you know what? We gonna fix this. Call Sean Kingston on the three-way. It's Sean Kingston, me, Meek on the three-way. And, you know, he going off on Sean Kingston. I ain't tell you nothing. Sean Kingston saying, yes, you did. Yes, you did. And he's saying, motherfucker, you bitch-ass nigga. So I just hung up the phone, man, because I'm like.
Right. We don't have time for that.
I can't, man. So after the detectives that came to my crib, I was like, yo, that's wild. But I still held it to myself. But then I got drunk, and you know how this Patron do. I got drunk in Miami one night. I'm in Miami, man, and you know what I'm saying? I'm partying, and I got drunk, and you know, you tell the truth, and it come out. So I grabbed a mic, and I'm like, out of nowhere, I'm like, fuck Meek Mill. And myself was like, hey, huh?
Why'd you say that?
And then, you know what I'm saying? And so from then I had to ride it out. And so that's what we doing. And so he said what he had to say with some memes and whatever. We got Instagrams, and so it went back and forth. And then he fucked up. He got my favorite beat of now, which is the Young M.A. beat. Super but cool. Yeah, I love that beat, right? I love that song. So so he jumped on that beat, and then he did the ultimate fuckery. He went and got Beans to help.
Rap mogul Russell Simmons around this time stated that he had a conversation with Game and Meek Mill about their beef, and got them to agree to not publicly post negatively about each other anymore, and that they agreed to have a meeting. Game's manager, Wack 100, would quickly refute this claim. Apparently not quite ready to squash the beef yet, Game then filmed a video for Pest Control, which came out about a week after the song was released. Game was also seen in Philadelphia driving around listening to Beanie Siegel's music and getting the cheesesteaks that Philly is so well known for. basically attempting to clown his opponents by being in their city. Perhaps one of the more unexpected things from this beef was the fact that Drag On from the Rough Riders stepped into this game. On 92 Bars, Game has the line, "I'm the old DMX, you niggas drag on," which seems to have struck a chord with Drag On, as on a freestyle Drag On did shortly afterwards, he sent a few shots directly at Game. The Game, in an interview with The Breakfast Club shortly after the release of the diss tracks, apologized to Nicki Minaj for the Instagram post he made, including a photo from the Pills and Potions video shoot that they did together and the caption he had on it dissing Meek. On September 21st, Shawty Low from the group D4L was killed in a car accident the day before he was scheduled to perform at a show in tribute to his father, which now had become a tribute to the both of them. And Beanie Sigel was set to perform in place of Shawty Low. While Beanie was in town for the show, he had an interview and stated that he helped them with some lines for the diss track towards Game because he happened to come to the studio while they were working on it. Then on the 23rd, Beanie Sigel was set to perform at the Philadelphia stop of the Bad Boy Reunion tour and apparently was jumped. Game went on Instagram and made a post talking about the situation. The social media beef between the two continued on some more. For example, Wack 100 spoke on Beanie Sigel getting jumped and blamed Meek Mill for the situation.
Yo, check this out. Y'all niggas went back there and put your hands on Beans, my nigga. On Power Rule, everything Power Rule stand for. Beans ain't told me shit about nothing. Now, if we pay attention to where this problem comes from, and all go back to your man Meek, that nigga Beans been carrying Philly on his back for 20 plus years. Y'all violate that man in front of his wife and his kids, my nigga. That nigga ain't told us nothing, my nigga. Whoever the fuck did that need to be dealt with, my nigga. 100, it's all love, my nigga. Philly represents the P, nigga, but it's Power Rule.
Around this time, Meek appeared on Funkmaster Flex's show, and during his freestyle, he took shots at the people he was beefing with, including Drake and 50 Cent. Beanie Sigel wound up getting even further involved in his beef, and things turned into a back and forth between Beanie and Meek now. Personally, I think it's pretty funny how Beanie went from being on Meek's side to beefing with Meek himself that quick. More shots went back and forth on social media interviews. Then in October, a phone conversation between Game and Beanie Sigel leaked, where Beanie essentially stated that he's not really cool with Meek like that, and he jumped into the beef because it was a Philadelphia thing.
LA niggas gotta run there, especially these new rap. They gotta come through. It's all at an advantage when it comes to shit like that. But you know I'm not no nigga. I'm not no fucking ill, negative pushing on a nigga. I'm not that nigga, though. I'm a cool nigga. I try to help niggas. I look out that nigga. He violating me, my nigga.
Well, you got every right to do whatever you gonna do to me. That's your beef. I'm not calling about me. I don't care. I could, literally I could give two shits. I'm not making no paper with Meek. Meek ain't trying to do nothing for me. He ain't called me and asked me to do a record and all. You see how happy the nigga was when he smiled just for those 2 lines. It wasn't even about that. It wasn't about that, bro. I ain't getting no coin from me. My whole thing is like, when I heard that, I can expect you to say it. I can expect you to say something, but I think you went a little too far about when
I didn't go too far, but you know me. That's game. I think I go too far.
All right, that's all I wanted to know. You know what I mean?
Nigga, for me, from game to beans, nigga, I went too far. Nigga, because I go too far because I go all the way. And I don't look back, but this is what I do know. I do know that if Beans went in that fucking studio and really say I'm coming out of retirement, then I would have never said nothing about Beans because I would never do that. I only speak their name in motherfucking legendary highlight with hella respect on it, nigga. I've only done that in my motherfucking team.
That's true.
He also had an interview on The Breakfast Club basically saying the same thing, that he jumped into the beef with those 2 bars just out of Philadelphia unity rather than a personal bond with Meek.
I went in and referenced the track for him, and they just kept that part in there with my vocals. 2 bars. That's all I said. I don't even think it was a whole 2 bar. Maybe even a bar. 2 bars. So they just kept my voice in there. But I ain't get no phone call, Matt, come help, come ride, come do that. That ain't go down. I told y'all that on Task Point. I ain't get a call from O'Malley. I ain't get a call from me. They in the studio. I went to the studio. What's the situation?
Around this time, Meek had an interview with Taxstone in which they discussed various topics like the beefs with Game and Beanie.
Since I came in this rap game, like when we talk, let's talk about writing too. When we talk Beanie Sigel, when he's saying He helped
Say
me write my
wrote for
rap.
you on Melly.
So basically, what's the meaning? What's the definition of he wrote for me and Old Melly? Like, say the definition in a sentence.
Well, shit, I don't know. It mean you wrote the song, but he said at first he said he did a couple bars.
Yeah.
For O'Malley. Then I think it might have changed a little bit in another interview.
Yeah.
Or something. Until he said he wrote your shit and O'Malley's.
But look, say if he lying, how bad that would be for hip hop if he lying? Like seriously, how bad would that be for the culture? Say if he lying, say if Drake lying too. I mean Game lying too. Where's rap at if this is going on? Like there's one person saying I told on him. This one nigga said I told him something about my girlfriend. He wrote my raps. Say if they lying.
Other beefs were also going on around this time, like Drake versus Meek, Meek versus Safaree, and Nicki Minaj versus Remy Ma. All three of which I've covered on the channel before, so check them out if you haven't yet. Speaking of Nicki Minaj and Remy Ma beefing, the beef between Meek and Game sparked back up after Remy dropped the diss track, Sheether. On that song, Remy said that she talked to Meek Mill about Nicki Minaj. In response to Meek Mill liking a post making fun of Nicki Minaj for getting dissed by Remy, Game made his own post bashing Meek Mill and making claims that Meek is the reason that her house got robbed and sending several insults his way. In response to this, Meek Mill made a post allegedly with O'Malley in response to Game, calling him a weirdo among other things.
Yeah, the nigga a weirdo, y'all know that shit.
That paragraph was so fucking long.
Who the fuck read that paragraph the nigga wrote? Ain't none of us read that shit yet. We like, yo, man, this nigga is man, fuck that shit, dog. This some weirdo shit. You gotta be a weirdo to write all this shit about another man. You know what I'm saying? And this bitch shit, nigga. You in the middle of some, man, get the fuck out of here, you weirdo. How is y'all even vouching for this shit? Y'all out here standing up for the wrong shit, man. We be on some real shit out here, man. Be fucking playing with us with that nut shit. Real shit, man.
We gonna fuck his bitch. That's all we gonna do.
That's all that's gonna happen. And my man,
I know one of his baby mamas mad at you. I know one of your baby mamas wanna get you back.
Ooh, it's gonna
I know my OG here in the feds. But
Game came back in response to Meek Mill's post, and Meek allegedly talking to Remy Ma about Nicki with another post of his own with a bunch of bars going at Meek. Once again, another beef for the social media jabs. Besides his consistent name dropping, Game is also well known for starting beefs with other rappers and even offering to fight them. For example, back in 2012 when he recorded himself beating up fellow California rapper 40 Glock. I guess essentially snitching on yourself is okay, but Meek allegedly talking to Sean Kingston is a problem. I would probably be upset too though if I was Sean Kingston. Game allegedly warned Meek about the situation, but not him. That does seem a bit shady. Game's reasoning of Meek is a rapper and Sean is an R&B singer or whatever doesn't really seem like the most logical one. Do thieves really care about the genre of music a potential target makes? I doubt it. Either way, Meek was sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison in November 2017 for a parole violation and was released roughly 5 months later in April 2018. Game and Meek Mill made amends shortly after Meek was released from prison. In an Instagram post in December, Game stated that he and Meek are cool again and that Meek was the one that reached out and called him once he was out of prison and that they spoke and patched things up. Game and Meek Mill would even release a song together later on as Meek was featured on the Game album Drillmatic, Heart vs. Mind, released in August 2022 on the track Talk to Me Nice, also featuring Moneybagg Yo and Blast. One thing I've noticed with all these beefs involving Meek so far is a lot of tweets and Instagram posts going back and forth. If I had to pick a winner from this beef though personally, I would say Game won if we're judging based on the diss tracks. Although there weren't many, 92 bars in Pest Control hit pretty hard, especially on top of the fact that Meek was already embroiled in a beef with one of the biggest artists of the time, Drake, as well as Nicki Minaj's ex-boyfriend Safaree. Game had plenty of ammo to use against Meek both on and off wax. However, I'm still one to say that this is fortunately another beef that wound up being peacefully resolved. What are your thoughts on the beef? Do you think Meek Mill was a snitch? Let me know in the comment section below. Meek and Beanie have a history that goes back years before the beef. They first collaborated on the Meek Mill track, This Is How We Do It, from Meek's Mr. Philadelphia mixtape back in 2010, and then Beanie was featured again on Meek's Dream Chasers mixtape on the title track. Meek even brought Beanie Sigel and State Property out during his Welcome Home concert in 2015 after being released from prison. That same year, Beanie also made a post regarding the whole Meek beef with Drake and A.R.A.B., essentially stating that he isn't siding with either of them and warning them that things could get violent if it continues. Meek and Beanie Sigel started beefing in the midst of the Meek Mill and Game beef in 2016. Game dropped the diss track 92 Bars, which led Meek, O'Malley, and Beanie Sigel to come back with a diss track using the same beat as the hit single by Young M.A. titled Ooh. Beanie had the lines, "One phone call, I'm in LA in 3 hours. The bully, please don't bring me out of retirement." Game then responded with the track Pest Control, which also used that same beat and included a diss towards Beanie with lines like, "Yeah, take beans back to rehab, on Instagram looking like a mother effing beanbag." Beanie Sigel then on an interview stated that he helped write the Ooh track for Meek Mill and O'Malley. Apparently this wasn't something Meek took kindly to, as Beanie was then assaulted during the Philadelphia stop of the Bad Boy Reunion tour, allegedly by Dream Chasers member Tiffy Bay. That Game and Meek Mill beef now had Beanie beefing with Meek himself. Shortly afterwards, Tiffy had an interview with Hip Hop Since 1987 in which he stated his relationship to Meek, that being his aunt marrying Meek's uncle, making them family through marriage.
Explain your relationship with the Dream Chasers, how that came about, because tons of people, they don't know your role in this whole beef, but they see you around the city with the Chasers all the time.
Well, Meek been my man, like I told y'all. Been New talking to them. We all from South Philly, O'Malley and everybody. We all just knew each other growing up, and my uncle was married to my aunt. That's how I got a close relationship with the Chasers. You know what I'm saying? And the whole thing with the beef and everything, it just, they my guys. You know what I'm saying? So, all day, 24/7, not just when the cameras is on. You know what I'm saying? When the cameras is off, we together. You know what I'm saying?
He also spoke on the situation between Game and Meek, as well as Beanie getting punched at the concert, and says that Beanie was essentially a backstabber for talking to Game.
So another thing that we've been getting hit up a lot about was the Bad Boy Reunion concert that was just in Philly.
Right.
We heard rumors that Beans was recently beat up at the concert. Do you know anything about that?
Do I know anything about it? Yeah, I know about it.
What happened with that situation? What happened with that situation?
What happened with it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think he passed out from his diabetic medication. It's like, nah. Hey, man, you know, everybody know what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? But y'all see how I just explained all that history to y'all? How he pray and bump and niggas got respect for him, and how we let him come to the studio to jump on the joint and all that. And then he backdoor niggas with Game in them, telling niggas information that only the camp know. And not the information that you wrote something, because you didn't. The information was more worse than that, y'all.
Within a few days of Beanie getting attacked, he had an interview with Taxstone on the Tax Season podcast where he went into detail regarding his involvement in the Meek Mill beef with Game and also spoke on Meek's beef with Drake as well. He mentions that he wrote the majority of O'Malley's second verse and that he helped them with the diss track in order to get close to Meek.
Once I heard that they was in there and they was doing their diss record, the Game, all right, this is how I'm gonna get Meek to feel comfortable to come around me. I go there. I didn't write O'Malley's first verse. I didn't write all of his second verse, but the majority of it. That's facts. You niggas is playing games, lying and saying I ain't write that shit. Stand up for the other brothers that was in the room who know that.
He also mentions that if he knew that Game had mentioned him positively on the 92 Bars track, that he never would have helped Meek and O'Malley with the diss track.
If I would have known that Game big me up in a diss record before that one, I would have went about my move on how I was trying to get next to Boy in a different light. Me and Game got a rapport.
After Beanie was attacked, Game's manager Wack 100 made a video talking about Meek being to blame for the incident.
Yo, check this out. Y'all niggas went back there and put y'all hands on Beans, my nigga. On Power Rule, everything Power Rule stand for. Beans ain't told me shit about nothing. Now, if you pay attention to where this problem comes from, it all go back to your man Meek. That nigga Beans been carrying Philly on his back for 20 plus years. Y'all violate that man in front of his wife and his kids, my nigga. That nigga ain't told us nothing, my nigga. Whoever the fuck did that need to be dealt with, my nigga. 100, it's all love, my nigga. Philly represents the P, nigga, but it's power rule, nigga. Y'all need to deal with that nigga Meek till he get back in the booth, my nigga. Y'all did that to Beans, what y'all doing with this other nigga, my nigga? Big stack.
The Pest Control video was released around this time, which included a clip of Beanie Sigel getting knocked out at the concert in the outro of the video. After the Beanie interview with Taxstone, Meek Mill responded by posting messages from Beanie Sigel talking about Meek positively and a negative message about Lil Uzi Vert, the next big star from Philadelphia, essentially calling Beanie a snake as well. Meek Mill afterwards was on the Funkmaster Flex show, and during his freestyle, he took shots at 50 Cent, Beanie, and Drake. On October 4th, the BET Hip Hop Awards aired and State Property had a cypher. Meek Mill then tweeted taking credit for setting up the cypher, stating that he gave BET the idea. Considering the cypher was recorded in September, before they started beefing, it's understandable that Meek would help out. Then on October 6th, Beanie Sigel released the diss track, I'm Coming, aimed at Meek Mill. Outside of the odd tone of the intro, Beanie sets off the song with plenty of heat for Meek, beginning his first verse with the lines, somebody gotta die, either this guy or this guy, either way somebody mama throwing a fish fry, bigger the beef, bigger the clip size, Home Depot trips, duct tape, zip ties, was gonna leave it dead, let ish slide, but niggas pushing my F it button, I gotta F up something, I'm thinking churches and Hertzes, and ends his verse with the lines, it is what it is, but we ain't gonna dwell though, if ish hit the fan, cuz just don't tell though. That being a reference to the game's allegation that Meek is a snitch. Threatening lines and wordplay towards Meek continue on with third verse lines. You drew that line so I'ma cross it. Now lay in between them lines when they chalk it. Catch you at the Clearport, extra cartridge. Ain't no jets departing, only death departing. Teeterboro with the burl, exercise the plan. Understand you ain't never too fly to land. He also makes a reference to Tiffy Bay sneaking him at the concert with the lines, a sucker way out is to steal him. Face said look him in his eyes before you kill him. Nigga, you weak for real. You did that for Meek, you should've did it for Mills. Chick, you should've did it for real. Got niggas checking under cars before they get in their wheels. It's a plenty good diss track from Beanie once again, and throughout the song, Beanie makes multiple references to Biggie as well, like back on course with no remorse, like the fat guy from Bed-Stuy kicking doors. If you know about the Jadakiss and Beanie Sigel beef, then you probably know how Beanie gets down already with the diss tracks. If you want to see more about how that beef went, then make sure to check out the video after this. Beanie came with a diss track the very next day titled Good Night. In this heartfelt track, Beanie starts off by mentioning his wife and family, letting us know from the very beginning that he has more to live for than just himself. He goes on to express his rough childhood and turning to the street to survive with lines like, I got no room for error, absent father gave me my survival skills, so if I gotta rob and steal to provide the meals, so be it. This track can be really seen as Beanie really trying to put Meek in his place, as shown with lines like, me, the reason Philly even on the map, me, the reason your silly ass rap. Essentially stating that Meek wouldn't even have the opportunities he had if it wasn't for Beanie, an older rapper who's established himself in the rap game who's from the same city. Several more lines questioning Meek's street credibility compared to his own, as well as his standout songs like What's Your Life Like, with its haunting realism, and of course the classic Feel It in the Air. Just like the previous track, this one came at Meek hard. I'm the dad you never had, what's your problem nigga, I'm like your father figure. And with that being said, daddy's here to put the kids to bed. Now get your ass upstairs, and I better not hear that TV on, SP chasing niggas with that DC on, and whoever's siding with him, dying with him. I can keep going about this track, but it's probably unneeded. Just go listen to the song after this if you haven't heard it yet. Beanie then had an interview on The Breakfast Club and talked about the whole situation with the game and Meek Mill.
Provide me, what loyalty, with who? He ain't provide me no opportunity. He ain't called me and asked me to do that. I did that. I walked into, Meek wasn't even there. It was just O'Malley in the studio.
Oh, so O'Malley called you to the studio?
No.
Meek called you to the studio?
No.
So how'd you get to the studio? Who called? Like, how did you know they were?
It wasn't no call. It wasn't no call. It was somebody told me, Lil Top, Meek cousin, yo, O'Malley in the studio, they recording something. I go in there, oh, this what y'all doing. I wasn't even gonna get on it. I was just like, all right. XYZ, help him out. Nah, you gotta do this, bro. Say this. I went in and referenced the track for him, and they just kept that part in there with my vocals. 2 bars. That's all I said. I don't even think it was a whole 2 bar. Maybe it been a bar. 2 bars. So they just kept my voice in there. But I ain't get no phone call, Matt, come help, come ride, come do that. That ain't go down. I told y'all that on Tascom. I ain't get a call from O'Malley. I ain't get a call from me. They in the studio. I went to the studio. What's the situation?
This is also the same interview where he and Charlemagne had that heated back and forth as he was questioning Beanie on how he handled the situation with Meek in a way that Beanie clearly didn't appreciate.
Now, we've had some opinions about each other over the past month or so. I heard you on
Yeah.
Tax Podcast.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was questioning you with your diss records, man. You sounding like a hater lately, man.
A hater?
Yeah.
How you say that? A hater?
Because I feel like, you know, you put out 2 diss records, but then you was in the studio with me like 8 days prior to the first diss record. And I'm like, if anybody else did that, I think you'd be saying that was a sucker move. That's kind of snakish.
I don't think you qualified to even say I sound like a hater because you don't know all the particulars. So how you qualified to say I'm a hater? Hate on what?
Well,
and why?
I'm just telling you based
But
on what you see.
why do you say I'm a hater?
Because, you know, everything is that used to be me and I used to be in that position.
When did you ever hear me say that?
On Tax Podcast. Absolutely, you said that. You was like, yo, he can't rap better than me, which could be a fact. And, you know, that used to be me. People come up to me all the time and say, when you was in that position, Beans, things was better. It wasn't like
So
that.
do that sound that's a hater or me giving some advice to somebody to move a little different? Did you not also hear me say I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did?
Mm-hmm.
So is that me schooling somebody or sounding like a hater?
It sounds like no disrespect, but then you disrespect them.
Beanie also stated again that he did help write the verses for the Game diss track, to which Meek and O'Malley still weren't happy about, and more posts were made online regarding that situation. Shortly afterwards, Beanie released the video for a track titled Gang Gang, which has Beanie spitting generally threatening lyrics. I suppose he was doing his own rendition of a drill song, which at the time had become an immensely popular subgenre. However, it can also be seen as another diss track to Meek, considering how soon after the other 2 tracks it was released. However, it wasn't nearly as direct as the other 2 tracks were, but what do you think? Meek Mill and O'Malley had responses on Instagram and Twitter, but for whatever reason, they didn't seem to come back at Beanie on wax. Then, of course, there's the interview Meek had on the Tax Season podcast where he spoke on his issues with people like Drake and Game. Unlike the beef between Meek and Safaree, where there were a bunch of social media posts and very few diss tracks going back and forth, Beanie Sigel is from the old school and he shows it. He came at Meek on wax, just how I like. In a 2017 interview of Vlad TV, AR Ab, who Meek had beef with for a time as well, chimed in on the situation between Meek and Beanie and stated that a bunch of Philly rappers, them included, were planning to do an album together, but that was squashed due to what happened between Meek and Beanie, and also stated that he feels like Beanie backstabbed Meek by talking to Game about him and dissing him.
You mentioned, I think in an interview, I forgot who it was, it might have been This Is 50, but you said that before the incident when Beanie Sigel got punched, like a bunch of the Philly rappers were supposed to get together and like do a song or a project or something?
Yeah. When that shit happened with the Game shit, you know, Bean was in the studio with O'Malley and the Meek came down there, and then, you know, fucking Tiffy and them called my phone. Tiffy and Daoud called my phone, like, yeah, Meek, I'm in the studio, and we all going. I said, fuck it, man. They called my phone, we gonna put an album together, a Philly album. You know what I'm saying? It's me, it's you, Meek, Beans, and you know what I mean? We're gonna try to get a couple other artists. And I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? And the next day, they found out Beans did the nut shit called, I mean, you know, he called him and was talking, you know what I mean? And then I guess Meek felt like, man, every time I tried to help out, you know what I mean? This is what I get, man. Beans stabbed him in his back, man. And that kind of like put a damper and everything. Cause Meek, like, man, every time I try to help out, man, shit like this happened, man. You know what I mean? Beans said that, it stabbed him in his back. They was in the studio, there was no excuse to do it. I had no issue with Beanie Sigel either, but that was our one shot at like everybody coming together like like that, and everybody was with it. Everybody was with it, from the PNB Rocks to to Meek, to me, O'Malley, Sigel. They called all of us. Everybody was we all supposed to come and start laying verses and tracks. And then that shit, Beans did this shit, man, and it turned everybody off.
Beanie Sigel then in 2018, after Meek released his championship album, made a post online in support of the album. So you can say by that point the beef between the two was over and done with. What do you think about the beef between Meek Mill and Beanie Sigel? Do you think Beanie was a backstabber to Meek by talking the game like he did and releasing those diss tracks? Does Meek Mill really have Twitter fingers? Personally, I think Beanie killed it on the diss tracks, and it would have been nice to see Meek come back lyrically as well. Meek Mill moved on from this beef to still put out albums that sold well. But what do you think? As always, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click that thumbs up button if you liked the video. Join the Discord to come talk with me and others about rap and more. And of course, become a channel member to help support the channel further.